What up, everybody? Welcome back to Operation Moksha. As always, I'm your host, Chris Roscoe, and today we're going to be talking about the inner child. Pretty much any part of your personality that has been fragmented, it probably got fragmented when you were a child. And so what that means is that that version of you that existed in that moment, which is probably a child, is fractured off, stuck in your body somewhere, still has a childlike mentality, still has a childlike emotional system, still has a childlike everything, so you need to relate to it as if it's a child, but there's like a shitload of them. Any part of you that you want to integrate is going to need to be treated as if it's a child, because that's just how you approach these things. It's going to be the same for every single part. So when I hear people being like, oh, is this my inner child or is this other thing? It's like, who cares? It's a part of you that needs your attention. That's really all that matters. And the only reason the inner child thing is applicable and important, which isn't even the part that people talk about, which is insane to me, is the fact that that's how the part of you needs to be approached, as if it were a child. Because if you want to talk to your fragmented parts as if they're adults, you're not really going to get anything out of them. If anything, they might just learn to hate you more, because you've been pushing them into a deep, dark corner ever since they were little kids, and now all of a sudden you want to talk to them like adults, and they're like, yo, you've been abusing me forever, and now you just want to like talk to me? Like, fuck you. No. If anything, they need to be treated like scared, traumatized little children. Because even if you go in there with the most loving, compassionate attitude possible, but all you're trying to do is get information out of this thing, it's not going to want to give it to you. Because again, you've been pushing it into a deep, dark corner, and now you're suddenly being loving and asking it for shit, and it's going to be like, f you. So instead, you need to take a little bit of time and let every single part of you feel safe with you before you ask it for stuff. Now, there are some parts of you that aren't that wounded, that aren't that mad at you, and that aren't that shut down, will be willing to give you answers pretty much immediately. That is fairly common. However, for the other parts that don't want to talk yet, that don't like you yet, don't trust you yet, or maybe they're so old that they need a certain kind of care, if you treat them as if they're children, they will eventually thaw out. And what that means is, this is the example that I give a lot because I like comic books, Batman. When Batman, little baby Bruce Wayne, when his parents were murdered in front of him, Commissioner Gordon came over and put one of those little trauma blankets over him and just sat with him. And he didn't say anything, he just sat with him. Just let him know that somebody was there. And as a result, little baby Bruce Wayne decided that he liked this man and trusted him. And if you know Batman comics at all, you know he doesn't like or trust anyone, but he trusted this one guy who sat with him when he was a little kid and just was willing to be there with him. It's a comic book, so you can't be like, oh, if Batman did it, you'll do it. But it is accurate. And so if you sometimes you need to just sit with a part of yourself, let it know that you're there, let it know that you love it, let it know that you care about it, and then when it's willing to talk, you'll be there to listen. And that's kind of how you have to treat children, because children aren't always going to be ready to be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what happened, and this is exactly how I feel about it, and blah, 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 blah. Like, they're more complicated. They don't think like we do. They don't have like rational thought, and they're not really good at articulating their experience. And so you need to create the space to let every single part of you feel safe. And if you treat them as if they're children, that's the best way to do it, by creating that loving, open space where they can thaw out, trust you, say what they need to say, and ultimately give you the information that you need in order to integrate them. And that is very distinct from having all these different parts that you're not relating to as children, but then you're looking for this one thing inside of you that is a child for some reason that I personally don't understand. Whereas instead, if you treat all of the parts of you that need to be integrated as children, you'll get the most value out of it. I've seen so many people go down this thing of being like, okay, is this my inner child? Is this my shadow? Is this my whatever? Is this the blah, 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 blah? Like, I don't know what this thing is. And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a part of you that needs your attention, and that's all that matters. And it probably needs to be treated like a child because it probably is. All you need to know is whether or not there's a part of you that needs your attention, what kind of attention it needs from you, the ability for you to give that, ultimately get it talking so you can hear what it needs from you, meet those needs, and allow it to feel safe with you, trust you, and become integrated. So I'm hoping this clarifies things for you. I'm hoping this gets you out of a little bit of confusion if you're ever trying to figure out what the fuck all this is about. Forget all the technical stuff. Just deal with the parts of you that need your attention. Figure out what kind of attention they need, give it to them, and they will become healthier. Forget all the bullshit and just do what works. If you have any more questions about this, let me know. But I'm Chris Roscoe. I love you, and I'll see you next time.